Now that we have covered a lot of ground so far and it's time to pause and reflect, we will take a short break for tea. Please enjoy and use this time to connect with your fellow attendees. We will be elevating India on the global garment manufacturing stage. I would like to invite again moderator of the panel discussion, Mr. Prashant Agarwal, on the stage, from whom you have already heard today. Okay, so now let me introduce our esteemed panel of industry leaders. Please welcome on stage Mr. Pallab Banerjee, Managing Director of Pearl Global. He is experienced in apparel sourcing, manufacturing, strategies and operations, a graduate from University of Delhi and a diploma holder in apparel marketing and merchandising from NIFT. He also did financial management from ICAHT with world-class experience in supply chain strategic solutions. He is able to devise competitive long-term strategies with the unique ability to identify trends that brand pick and develop. Our next panelist is now invited to take the stage, Mr. Arth Patel. He is the Chief Business Officer at OfBusiness for the Fashion and Lifestyle BU. He holds a degree in engineering from IIT Gandhinagar. He is one of the founding members at OfBusiness and has been a key part of the company's growth. He is handling fashion and lifestyle vertical for over 4 years when he started with yarn industry and moved ahead to the garment manufacturing. Let's give a warm welcome to our final panelist, Mr. Anil Peshawari, Managing Director of Meenu Creation LLP, who has done BCom Honours from Sri Ram College of Commerce. Mr. Anil is a chartered accountant of 1985 batch. He is founder of Meenu Creation LLP, started in the year 1998. Today, the company is a global name with an annual export of $70 million. Main market is Europe and US. Meenu Creation is one of the biggest suppliers to Inditex Group from India, employing around 6,000 workers. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists as they take their places. I now hand over to Mr. Prashant Agarwal, moderator of this session, to kindly lead the discussion.
Thank you. And let's start. I think in this panel I have one of the renowned panelists. It makes my life really easy because you'll be able, whatever questions, they have the answers. Whether they are from buyer side, manufacturer side, investor side. So we are all on the panel. That's what I told to Colonel Saab, that we can go on and have. So I didn't have a discussion with them beforehand. We just said this is the topic and this is what we are going to discuss. Because once, actually the panel discussion is all about having a free and frank discussion, so that we can deliberate on a subject and then find an answers, and the real answers, not a made up kind of answers. So that was the objective, and that's what we were discussing before the panel. I said let's discuss everything on the panel and let's try to find answers which can be really a roadmap for others to follow. Branding beyond borders. I think what I talked in the panel also, my theme presentation, that what is India and what India should be branded as. So when we say branding India, when buyer comes to India, they look towards India as what? As a cost competitive manufacturer, as a cotton manufacturer, as a synthetic manufacturer, as a country which provides quality. Let's define that. And this question, I think, will be to all three. We'll go one by one. And beyond that, we can divide into other questions. But because what I have seen, when buyer looks towards planning, because they will not buy from one country. They say, okay, I'll buy from China, Bangladesh, Vietnam, India. So what they look towards India, and today they look towards in a certain way, can we change it? Can we brand India? And it should be a conscious effort. Maybe it take 5 years, doesn't matter. We are not talking what we are going to do in next 6 months. So I think this is what the whole idea is, and maybe I'll start, Pallab, with you on this, because you have been from buyer side for a longer duration than as a manufacturer? That's why I'm just starting with you. What do you think? How do buyers look towards India, and what should we make it?
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you first of all for getting me out here. But I think like when you talk of brand India from a customer point of view, India is very interesting. India is not known for only one product. India, if you look at it, the north and the south, unfortunately or fortunately, it's quite distinct. So Tirupur is very well known in the market for nets. Similarly, if you look at the NCR region, the north region, it has formed image for the fashion. And especially the designers love India. They come here for a lot of their own inspiration. A lot of fabrics, colors, the design, the vibrancy that India presents. So that something has been always there. That attraction was always there. Now, what if you talk of mass production of a garment or garment industry when you talk about, so yes, they would go to, like, in my Gap days, the designers and the teams would go to, let's say, Korea or Japan to see the trend, to see the sophistication or like what it could be the next fashion trend that is coming into, or they would go to like Europe, something which US would follow. But coming to India was more of a fresh mind. Okay, what are those new things, what are the sprinkler that we can put here and there that will bring that interesting part for their collection. So that's the image that India definitely had or still have. So for example, like I'm sure like you will be able to, like you have tapped, like Anil has really tapped into that in a very deep manner. So that's something I think still is a very strong image as per my understanding so far.
So, but do you think a country like India is so vast, so instead of saying that we are a niche manufacturer or we are a large scale manufacturer, India has to be everything and create multiple niches, or we can still focus on somebody like Turkey or something?
Yeah, then you're talking about progression from here. Yes, definitely. Like today, India is trying to be a manufacturing hub. Like we directly jumped from agroeconomy to service economy. We didn't have that manufacturing economy in India at all, or very insignificant. If you look at it, the other big manufacturers like China, or you talk about Vietnam or Indonesia or other places like where manufacturing was there as to a certain extent, much bigger than India. Like for all various other, or basically Central America or certain part of Eastern Europe and all. So that's something like India missed upon. So now, of course, India has got 1.4 billion people. So naturally, we have to create jobs, and to create jobs, manufacturing is very important. Everybody will not be, and what we are seeing is that as artificial intelligence comes more and more, some of the service industry is threatened in a very big way. So naturally, like today, Indian government is looking for growing this manufacturing industry in a very, a lot of focus is coming to it. To scale up in our fashion industry, that's where that image has to change, I would say. India still is being looked into for that fashion sprinkler. Of course, Tirupur has created that image of a low price children's garment or basic garments. That is very strong. And there are certain players like who have taken it up to to that niche market which is more fashion, more high value. So those two things are doing very well. But that medium market, like which is like, even like little bit more, if I go a little higher than that, like Lululemon's or HCL's and all. So as they are expanding globally, will they look into India as a source or not? So they will not. They are still not seeing India as a big source. So they're still the first sourcing country if they have to come out of China is going somewhere else. So that part maybe there's a big opportunity for India to tap into as of yet, and that definitely needs a little bit of image change. If you're talking about branding change, so those are things, in my opinion. But let me hear more from all of you.
So no, I think Pallab, from your discussion and from your thoughts, I think it's clearly emerging. Just want to brief up or sum up what Pallab said. He said India is into high end also, is into niche also, has so many of it. But India missed the bus as manufacturing company. When we say manufacturing company, it's manufacturing excellence. And today, if you see in our GDP, manufacturing only has 18% role. Normally, a country like China, even Korea, when they develop, they have 35% of their GDP coming from manufacturing. So India has to almost, while India has set up a target of 25% as a manufacturing component of a GDP. So this, I think, the moment we set up manufacturing as a focus, I think the sustainability, digitalization, excellence, all comes under that. So and I will, from this point which has just come up, I will straight away move to Arth. Why? Because OfBusiness is one company, I don't know how many of you know, is investing into manufacturing in India. They are buying companies, turning around, so their bet is on manufacturing in India. That manufacturing in India will be the next big thing. So they are taking, they have money from all over the world investing in manufacturing in India. I think nobody else than you can explain that you are betting on manufacturing in India. So what's your view on India?
So we entered garment space 3 years back. I think what everybody told us that, are you mad of getting into this industry where everybody wants to get out? But the way we see is India has seen multiple super cycles. Like liberation happened in 91, then some small manufacturing cropped up. IT industry grew from nothing to almost multi-billion dollar this year. But the kind of industrialization that any country needs from a almost developing country to developed country, that never happened. So I think government also has realized this potential of manufacturing. We are a country where we'll need to add almost 10 CR job in next 5 years just to sustain the growth that we are. So the bottom of the pyramid, uplifting the bottom of the pyramid is most important from more macro strategic point of view. Hence, you see most of the governments are incentivizing or pushing towards a more labor-intensive manufacturing scale. So far, as per brand India is concerned, I think, as you rightly said, we are slightly here, slightly here, slightly here, but nothing to stand out for. That is major reason, I think, is because of scale. Unlike scale, if we don't have scale, we don't matter in terms of buyer size. I mean, they will come to us for most embellished garments, or they will come to us for slight price variation, let's say in the southern part of India. But when it comes to, let's say, strategic country, a strategic partner of, let's say, who contribute to almost 50% of the sourcing, nobody looks at us. So as a brand, India, I think we are somewhere of everywhere. As a first step, I think we should take to have a very large scale, because we have manpower availability, land availability is there. I know there will be challenges around it, of training and getting a discipline around the manpower, but the scale is the first step towards getting to where, let's say, China or Vietnam is. As a succession plan, you are here right now. If you want one step ahead, you have a large scale. With large scale, you will get more talent across the globe, and then you can get into more technologically advanced sectors like getting into athleisure, getting into more technical textiles, and that is the space or trajectory we should take.
So, I think you went in, bought some companies, and you transformed also. So, how do you see when we talk about manufacturing, India moving into manufacturing in a big scale? You said, oh, there are challenges, people, or so. It's not a challenge. If you really talk about that we are into manufacturing needs, you have to take care of people and process.
Correct.
So if you don't take on that challenge, you are not there.
Correct.
So how India should take on that people and process challenge, because as manufacturing has grown from a smaller base, so the orientation towards really spending, I have seen so many factories in, not so many because in Sri Lanka, Brandix and MAS, we have seen closely training people and processes like it's never ending process. It continues. So is it happening in India, and how it can happen?
So 2 parts to it. In terms of, as you say, scale of what should be changed right now, I think from a purely metro-driven around metro manufacturing, the move should be to go towards the area where abundant labor availability is there, land is cheaper. If you talk about NCR, people are operating in a 20-30 CR per acre land right now. Beyond the point, it's not sustainable to even expand into those areas. So idea should be to, as a first step, should move into area where land is almost 100 times cheaper than that. And you can also get abundant labor around it. So that's, I think, first part. Second, around people and processes, I understand in our industry it's a purely manual work. So there is a never-ending agony about managing people. I believe to solve that, some management, the creation of management bandwidth is required. When I say management bandwidth, it can be homegrown talent, it can be getting people from outside perspective, let's say from automobile industry, which they understand the assembly line concept. Now, those people might come with their own biases right now, or they might come with no experience in this industry, but having an outside perspective really helps in setting up the processes or improving from where the base right now to the next level.
So, are you trying that?
So we have, so in our most of the companies, the way that we have structure around it is that we typically hire from good B schools, different IIMs, and we give them different functions. Some guys will be on top functions where they are heading the companies altogether, and some guys will be given at different departments. So the way we have structured around it is amalgamation of the management talent, which is kind of a replica of a promoter, which almost all the promoters are doing. At the same time, with a cohesive teamwork of the industry expert who have seen it right now, who has more technical understanding or nuances around it. The moment you combine both of these right now, it works like a magic, because the majorly management bandwidth where you need to understand about vision, you need to understand about key metrics, KPIs, all processes. Those get sorted, and that newer angle or the fresh angle helps in realizing if things are not working or not, right? And really brings a fresh perspective. When you have been doing same things for 10 years, it's very difficult to identify the same issue.
I think this is something, because I am just trying to find answers for all the questions that we always have, and that's what OfBusiness has done. I know Amod is there in OGTC, and then we have bought Savannah Exports, and it has increased the exports turnover, and Amod has no background of textiles. He doesn't know T of textiles, and now he is the heading, right? So I think this is how, and their increased export profitability remains the same, 30% EBITDA level. So you're all Savannah, most of you know. So I think this is where we have to see that we have to attract these kind of talent from, and they don't hire from, like, again, I am A grade, I am B, we call A B. So they say, okay, these are B, and they have enthusiasm to do something in life. So they don't hire from any A grade IIMs, right?
Yeah. So idea is that to hire people who have just missed it from getting into IIM ABC. So they have more hunger to grow, hunger to prove themselves. So the moment they get on the shop floor right now, they don't start with fancy Excels and fancy presentations. They will go into a shop floor, they will go into a factory, see the line efficiency, see that if the worker is getting idle because of non-availability of raw material, they will go into floor and see if the issues are there, they will solve it hands-on. The learning, although because from our graduates, they come from a very fresh mindset, they will have no apprehensions in learning things from scratch. Once they see things from bottom up with a fresh approach, I think for them it becomes easier to also see the top down view, because that's how they have been trained from academic point of view right now. So the combination really works or has worked for most of the time. I'll not say we have been successful 100% of the time right now, but I think 70-80% of the time we have been successful in wherever we have employed this strategy.
So, and I have seen, like, because there are nobody stopping them, that no, it doesn't work like this in garment industry. It's different, because garment industry is no different. So I have seen their team people working and then delivering. They say, oh, we don't know. So what will happen? Okay, you go to market, you spend time, go to showrooms, see who is the consumer, who is buying what, and then tell us the strategy. So their own people go and do the research. I think this is what, so I think that's why I was saying the kind of diverse panelists we have, we can learn a lot. And let me move to Anilji from here, where we are talking about Brand India, and as of now what we have reached that manufacturing is the future. And manufacturing has a lot of components, we can discuss about that. But you being a big manufacturer and diverse experience on that, do you think India can be next manufacturing destination, and how?
Absolutely. I think the time, international situation, Bangladesh situation, buyers looking at a stable country, stable democracy, because it is very important for the buyers. Because any disturbance in a country and goods not delivered, imagine their stores being emptied, the kind of losses they would incur. And the customers they will lose. But there are few things which are stopping us, and that's the reason that in spite of a favorable climate towards India for quite many years, I would say, we are not growing. All my fellow exporters would agree with me that 7-8 years ago, none of us was talking about shortage of workers, lines being empty, factories not working at full capacity, even though all of us have big orders during the peak season. This trend has started for the last 7-8 years. And why has it started? There are few reasons for that. One of the reasons is that because of the political compulsion, every political party in the state, in the center, is giving a lot of freebies. So, there is a hierarchy of need, I think by Graham Maslow or someone, that your first need is your basic need, which is food. If you are hungry, nothing else matters to you. So the government fulfilled it. The next is to have your children education, to lift them up. We have not done that with majority of the people. So with the result that their basic need being met, there is no other need. And I'm talking about a lot of people, not all of course, but majority of the people. So why should they work? So whereas 7-8 years ago, a worker had to work at least 25-26 days in a month to feed the family. Now probably he has to work only 15 days. I mean, we all experienced, particularly this year, that after Diwali, most of the factories were empty, 50% working capacity, and Diwali comes in November, and November is one of the peak months to deliver. I'll give you a statistics. If you look at all the developed countries, 6 to 8% population is involved in agriculture, and they produce for more than 100. In India, 42-43% population is involved in agriculture. Why? When we say migrant worker, it is only 10% of the population who migrate to the cities. They are more enterprising. The rest stay there. And as there is no employment opportunities, a man is cultivating 5 acres. He has 3 sons. They grow up. They also start to cultivate the same 5 acres. And they call themselves agriculturists. But the fact is they are not productive. So, now, I would say that major blame lies on us. Major blame lies on us because when the garment export started in India sometime in 60s, 70s, it was very different, slowly. So it was our comfort zone that we all set up factories in metros. But the situation has changed. The metro real estate prices. Then when we are dependent on the migrant worker, he needs to earn more because he is paying the room rent, he is paying to the restaurant where he is eating, the dhaba and all, and then send the money to the family. That's what he is here for. So he needs to more. Now what he demands is maximum overtime working. If you work for 8 hours, 9 hours, majority of your workers will not stay because they are not going to make enough money.
Anil, I think I'm just, because what you are saying, I think most of the factories are facing this issue. Here when we are talking about manufacturing focus, we have to flip it. We have to see if you are fulfilling the need only and you are looking towards need people will go to other industry who is taking care of much more than me. So I think the time is that, for example, if we talk about going to Odisha or Madhya Pradesh, there also it's, and then people want to come back from there. They are saying workers are available, fine, but they are not able to perform because they are not trained, they are malnourished. And then again you have to spend time or money to nourish them and train them. So I think the key is, instead of talking about what is missing in terms of workforce not committing, I have like Brandix, 23,000 people working in one location and efficiency is better than Sri Lanka. We have taken girls from Assam, they are working in JJ Mills in Tirupur and they provide facilities of sports, recreation, food as they like. Attrition is less than 1%. They go after 6 months from taking a flight from here to Guwahati, and the whole village comes to pick up. They take 15 days leave and immediately back because they like this environment in Tirupur from Assam better. I think I am just as a because here we are talking about what's the change, can we bring the change. The moment we think, we have positive examples, we have negative. The moment we start thinking on those lines, maybe ultimately they come to work. Wherever globally I have asked companies, workers in India don't work. They say, Prashant, your middle management and top management is poor, zero. And we keep blaming the workforce. So I would say, I think if we start working, and how do we work is my request and question to you, that can we train our people, can we plan ourselves well so that worker has time, total work to really deliver? Can we look from that perspective, sir?
That's exactly what I was coming to.
Okay, sir.
So I thought I'll just make a base that what is the problem and how to solve, or what are the solutions, or what should be the way forward. As Arth said, as you are saying, the only way forward is that we move our production units to where the worker is, instead of asking the worker to come to where our factories are. We have to come out of our comfort zone. Few companies have done it and they have done it very successfully. Right? We decided to go to Odisha. We have formed a cluster of 7 exporters who have gone there. We have been allotted land and very soon we are going to start there. But there also is a problem because some of the state governments promised a lot but did not deliver. And when as an individual exporter you are trying to fight with them, it is impossible because their might is much bigger. So either we make associations in the state. In fact, much better would be, being a APC executive member myself, I'm going to raise this point. In fact, in the past I also raised that APC should take this point. In a recent meeting along with the chairman APC with the textile secretary madam, I raised this point that these subsidies, instead of through state, should be by center. I mean, state will pay, but center will monitor. You know, everything is in India's favor. Prashant, buyers, I mean, one thing as I told you that I differed with you when you were speaking, that textile has got not much to do with garmenting. It has got to do a lot with garmenting. I'll just take 2 minutes to explain. 10, 12 years ago, I went to my biggest customer, Inditex, and I told him that, boss, I have no orders. He said, okay. So, you know, these big brands make a pilot shop within the office and they put the garments in that, how the store will look next month or the month after. So he took me to the pilot store. He said, choose, pick up whichever you want to produce. I'll give you the orders, but you have to be competitive. So I looked at the garments which we could produce. They were mostly from made in China. This I'm talking about 12 years ago. But when I looked at the selling price, and with experience I knew if this is their selling price, then this is their FOB price. for a garment which probably the FOB price was $3.50, I could never achieve less than $4.5 because they were basic garments. Today, so at that time, 80% of our production or styles used to be embellished embroideries because the embroidery machines were not at that level and buyer could or customer could easily identify the hand embroidery with those, black machines and computer embroidery. So 80% of our product used to be this. Today, 85% of our product is cut and sew basic. But what we have done is, or the world has done is, basic is converted into fashion just by adding a small detail. A shirt, the fashion is with a flap. If the store has got a shirt without flap, they will not sell. So the shirt with flap, because that's what colors and all. And for that, what is most important is lead times. Today, when I speak to all my buyers, they agree and they admire that India has shortest lead time among most countries, except Turkey in knitted garment.
I think I agree to what you are saying. The only point I would make that when we say textile is different than garment, textile is the most important. You go and buy a garment, you see the fabric, the feel. So textile is important, but as a garment manufacturer, we have to focus that how my efficiency, what's my cost per minute. Let's not bother. Buyer is giving you design. You can't make a cut and silhouette on your own. Buyer will tell you and then only you can make. You can make samples and then show it. And then buyer will select out of it. So I am saying everything is important, but we need to focus for manufacturing excellence. Beyond that, what Anilji said, Pallab, I come to you, where he said that we were 7 of the exporters together, and then so we have PM Mitra Park coming. So when we talk about manufacturing excellence, is it that we need to take a cluster approach in India? Already there are natural clusters who are performing, but beyond that, when we want to develop clusters in Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Jharkhand, wherever, even in UP, Bihar, will the cluster approach is another solution that will work in India?
I think it should. Sri Lanka, most of the places I had seen even 20 years back, was developing these clusters, and it worked very well for them. They also had the same problem, like moving out of Colombo and going into the interiors. So when they had done that, it was beautifully done and beautifully executed. So, and of course, I think cluster gives that confidence, a group of 7 or 8 people, because we don't have that scale. Individual exporters are not like thousands of crores or higher. So that I think is definitely a first step, and I think I'm sure it will be a good success. And this has to be replicated very quickly. The only problem that I'm facing dealing with the government when they do this kind of schemes is that it takes its own time, and our industry is like season by season. So we had this PLI scheme that came up in 2021-22. That time the market was really peaking. People had money, invest in markets, because they had all this dole out money that they had, and they didn't go out for a very long period of time, and they were really buying garments. And that's the period that we found that huge amount of demand that came in. China was slow because of the logistics problem. So ABC, whatever the reasons were, there was a lot of demand at that point of time. So PLI scheme looked very attractive. But then the time taken, and by the time the whole industry, the whole cycle changed. Suddenly, most of these US retailers had got huge amount of inventory. The war started in Europe. So suddenly, European market lost out about 15% of the market overnight. All the Russia and some of the countries, these brands were not able to sell. So everybody took that hit of 15% in terms of their volume and all. So those kind of changes, geopolitically it happens. So we have to be also very quick and fast. So I think the PM Mitra is talking about something which is plug and play. They will build up the sheds and all. I'm experiencing that something in Bihar, which is a very good initiative. So let's see how it works. The only thing is that whatever we do has to be very sustainable as well. Tirupur was a very sustainable model. I don't know, a little bit of government and the entrepreneurs did it together. That's something is very important at this point of time, that we have to taste this success. So that's why I think there's a cluster to go, interact strongly with the government, speed up the whole process. I'm sure it will help.
only, I think you are right on point, but when we make a business plan for a factory, you don't put any government incentive subsidy in that plan. Even bank does not approve that. So I think it will drag you down. So government, okay, there is a manager subsidies and government incentive. But your role is to collect that and keep reporting after every month. You don't even discuss, money will come late, but the moment you club these two, your projects will get delayed, your vision will get delayed, your implementation will get delayed. Just unsolicited advice. So, let us move to...
If you earn out of subsidies, then you can do the next capital
So
expenditure.
it will come, that manager will make it sure that it will come. Government subsidies come, but if get delayed by 2 years, they should not derail your plans.
And also, like, it's not only like government is only giving the subsidy, but there are other things also, like the clearances. For example, recently we have taken this project, so the electricity connection came in 24 hours. The other certification that we needed came in about 48 hours. So those kind of things is very encouraging. And that's also coming from the states that we don't think that they're so developed. So that was definitely...
They are very progressive, they are trying to, but they are also bounded by certain rules and regulations.
And also, Prashant, there's a huge competition among the states that who will bring this. So I think this is the time when when the unemployment is very high, the focus of the government is on making India more and more manufacturing hub and increasing the percentage in the GDP by manufacturing, because a country with 1.45 billion people cannot sustain without manufacturing. Cannot sustain.
Absolutely. And that's why they have become good at marketing. So execution you have to do. After you are there, then they will forget you are there. So again, I will come to, I think another question now I have, moving on, because I have a consensus here where we are talking about manufacturing has to be focused, because India is a big country. You can't say I'll be niche, I'll be only mass. India has to do everything. Not only for exports, for domestic market also. So beyond that, now if that is the case, what buyers thinks about it? Will buyers change? With these geopolitical changes, is buyer perspective about India changing? Again, Pallab, I'll come to you and then Arth and then we go. I think that's an important question, because when we are talking about branding India, we want to brand India in the mind of buyers. So how they think, can we just, what we need to do to really change the branding in their mind so that they also start thinking in placing orders like this. Over to you and then coming to you.
Yes, geopolitics has become a very important part of our life now. China is getting segregated more and more. It's a big market, so China can sustain on its own also, definitely, both from retail and manufacturing point of view. But then they were almost had the lion's share, $182 billion of garment exports, apparel exports at some point of time, maybe like 6 years back. So from there now it has come down to 154. So that's a huge drop, like $30 billion, India does only 15. So this $34 billion has gone in more into Bangladesh and Vietnam at this point of time. But these changes are happening and very rapidly. So definitely for the buyers also, like they are interested at this point of time. But a lot of dynamics plays. Let's talk about US as a market. So US government has taken certain steps that anything that is coming from overseas market, they're going to test it, especially the cotton. So now they are doing this, traceability test, and that's basically what you call isotope testing, not even DNA. So that means which soil has produced that cotton. And as they do it, and if they find it from China or from any of the other banned region, so naturally they want to stop the goods. And as they stop the goods, that particular vendor gets blacklisted. So that means he cannot export anything into US anymore, unless until that clearance is taken. And so this is a huge fear factor for most of the US retailers. So two ways: either you make sure that the supply chain is not connected to China, that means you are not buying the raw material or the garment from China, or the other thing is that you buy it from the importers. Somebody else takes the risk. As a retailer, I don't take the risk, but New York has got this huge garment district where all these people are sitting out there, and they would be importing the garments and they're selling it locally. So these are the two things that is playing for many of these big retailers at this point of time, both the discounters as well as the mass market retailers. Like you talk of Walmart, talk of Targets, and then all these Kohl's and TJ Maxx and all these people. It's a very big market that is getting developed. So it was always there, but what has happened is that these Chinese have found out a route through that. So naturally, there's a pressure on the price. You know how it happens, they would under-invoice it, take it into the US, and then sell it to these big retailers. So as they do it, but also some of these are turning out to be a fly-by-night operator. As soon as one of the shipments gets stuck, the company is closed and the new company formed in the same location with a new registration. So this is something which is happening in US as we speak. If we talk of the other markets, Europe, Anilji is there, which is a specialist. So definitely they're talking about this passport now. That means complete traceability again.
Digital passport.
So those kind of things is there today as a reality that that access from China and some of these both raw material as well as other supplies has to come down. So as it happens, then how the rest of us, definitely Bangladesh created a huge infrastructure. Vietnam created a large infrastructure, which India somehow has not been able to do. I don't know, I personally feel is that this particular sector has been always under a small scale industry for a very long time. So naturally, it's this, entrepreneurs like him and others sitting in this hall, who has developed this industry. So how do we scale it up? And as we scale it up, this change of image and all that we're talking about, the branding, will happen. But this geopolitics is here at this point of time. It is going to stay. And if you are going to only target, the old policies of being in small scale, would be more of, that's why most of these niche customers. So now niche markets has to be developed. There are certain of these niche market also is mass market there. Maybe we are not exporting to China so much as of now, because Bangladesh recently, they got 100%, I think, duty-free access to China this week. So those kind of things are happening. So we have to be completely aware of all those things, and then it's more of a, what do you call, a sniper's market, or I don't know how you define it. So strategy is very important. Information is very important for us, and we have to be very, very agile. But yes, one thing remains in all these things is how do we scale up larger factories, larger base. India should change that image of branding, that we can do multiple products, not only the niche product, but or two niches, either absolutely in one niche we have really made a position for ourselves, thanks to Tirupur. But there's a huge gap in between. So those, how do we scale it up? How do we scale it up? And we have to scale it up fast. Otherwise, again, we'll miss the bus. We have missed it a couple of times in this last 10 years. So we should not. Again, I was reading this article sometime, if by 2011, 12, if you look at it, India was about 10 or 12 billion dollars. Vietnam was 10, 11 billion dollars. So was Bangladesh. Correct?
Yeah.
So from there, they have already touching 40 and 50s and all. We are still there. So that thing needs to quickly change.
So I think you aptly put it. You are saying that while manufacturing focus is needed, but in the mind of buyers, when they come to India, they don't find what they find in Vietnam, China and Bangladesh. So they are not able to place orders here. So we need to go for scale and Arth on the scale which Pallab is talking about, and this I have seen as a fashion industry. You can't have all factories with 3,000 machines, 5,000 machines, 10,000. There are some who will come up, but a cluster approach saying that, no, I am the marketing anchor. And there are factories in Bangalore, in Tirupur, in Noida, in Gurgaon. So anchor-led model, will it work? Because somehow OfBusiness is working that is the economies of scale you are bringing. You are buying factories and there are a lot of centralized functions which are happening. Will it work in India? Because this industry cannot be only organized players. So what's your views on that? And if it works, how it will work?
So I believe cluster approach definitely works while going to any remote location, what you are talking about. If you look at the manufacturing industry, which has actually progressed to a much more sophisticated level, there you don't need to be closer. As a management, you don't need to be closer to where factories are. I mean, you can go there once a month, twice a month, right now. But
Is
that's
it possible?
So, I mean, people are doing it.
Well, I have questions from all of you also. Can you manage factories by going once a month?
So, I mean, by definition, factory should be the one right now which can be managed automatically. I know it's a very ideal state. In our industry, there is nothing ideal. There is a new thing coming up every day. But in an ideal way, yes, if the scale is what is at stake, there is no two ways about it. I mean, there is no other way around. You can't be everywhere at every place at the same time. So, yes. Centralized approach has to be there. For us particularly, if I talk about what we have seen is also we are enrolled into multiple industry across the fashion categories. So certain centralized functions are required, which basically takes learning from one factory or even one line to another line, from one department to another department, and the movement across the units also kind of creates more cohesive environment, right, where the learning can get accelerated across the function. That's my view about having on the center as well.
So the way you are doing it, is it working? See, when you said our industry, nothing is idle. Whatever global, today or morning also I gave examples. So there is all multi-locational factories. So I've seen offices in Hong Kong, Singapore, and they are managing everything, all locations, once in a month or maybe in 2 months once you go. So do you think it's possible in India?
So I think yes, I mean, in a way it's possible as long as you have a good KPI monitoring every week or every month across departments, or even you can go to a sub-department level about monitoring everything. And just having a structured approach of, let's say, reviewing it every week or 1 day a week right now. I think if it's done right now, there are people, there are talent right now who knows the work, who knows how to do work. If the clear direction or clear goal setting can be done for them, I think it should be possible. That is what is working for us as of now.
I think good things working, so good sharing. Anilji, is it possible to have multi-locational factories and being managed from a central location, independently handled by so-called young CEOs? Is it possible?
Absolutely. You see, Prashant, the thing is that manufacturing, actual manufacturing, workers and all, the higher management doesn't have anything to do with them. They do not have a personal interaction with them. The policies would be made how to motivate them and all, and executed by the people at the supervisor level or little above and so on, or a factory manager or a floor person, but not by the higher management. Higher management has got no role in that.
Sir, I talked to most of the top management. 90% of people's decision about not going beyond, because they will say, okay, I have to fly there, the factory has to be near. Even if I land from airport, it should be within half an hour distance or an hour. That's 90%. I'm not talking 20%, right? So that's a constraint. How should I go? How many times I have to go? I have to leave from, here to by a flight. So how many locations, sir, you have factories?
Me? 6.
Within all around?
Yeah, all around.
So,
but I hardly ever visit any factory. I don't believe that my job is to go and look at the factory working and so on, because every information is through MIS.
In Bihar, UP or Odisha?
Yeah, we are going to set up in Odisha. That's what I told you.
Yeah. So I think clearly emerging out of it that India, when we talk about branding India, it's more India should be branded as a manufacturing destination. And as you said, buyers are looking towards the factory who can churn out the quality, timely delivery on a larger scale. Some of the buyers don't come to us because we don't have a scale. And factories can be managed from remote location, can be managed by the younger people. See, all of us are like 50 plus. So can be managed by younger people and better managed. So I think that's also one of the key takeaway. Arth, thanks for you talking about it. Another important, just one question from should India go beyond borders also, like beyond India, or within India also ample scope to be able to manage factories? Arth, to you, can we go beyond as a manufacturing destination?
There is a definitely possibility, but the way I think is rather than going out, we should let the other guys come in. One of the reason what Pallab also mentioned about globalization, where most of the buyers are looking at India as a alternate sourcing hub without having a good alternatives here. Just one example, in one of the factories, in footwear factory, the Zara, which is known for brutal price consciousness, they were willing to give $2 extra compared to Chinese factory just because they wanted to source from India. So that is definitely there because of their mandate. But the way we are here at this stage, frog jumping 10 steps ahead in one go is definitely not possibility. So maybe the answer lies in, let's say, JV with someone who is, let's say, in Vietnam or Taiwan or Korea, to have a partnership with those guys so that they can set up in India. That the buyer also gets a visibility that if someone from Vietnam and Taiwan is set up in India right now, then they will start seeing in the direction of taking India as a country in a more serious manner right now. Then from that, the trickle-down effect can happen for all the local guys as well.
Arth, what is happening? I am working at this moment with 2-3 players who are investing in India, right? Big players, billions of dollars plus, and they don't need Indian partners anymore. They're saying, we know we'll hire a CEO, we'll run the factory. Why should I have a partnership? Because I know the buyers, I know where the raw material is going to come. The government is giving all, now you have parks. So just 1 minute and we'll finish. So there is another bell which has come and we have, because next presentation at 12:30 and he's very particular about that. I have many questions, but I think I could really get a direction from which, because some of the questions, when we talk about manufacturing hub, then sustainability, which you talked about, you can't get away from that. Digitalization, we talked about, we can't get away with that. People and process, we can't get away with that. Multi-locational manufacturing, we can't get away with that. So I think as a country, while all of us are doing good business, are profitable, but the future for India, for next generation to come, the moment we want to plan it where you don't need to sit in office every day, just managing through right KPIs is what Arth also talked about. I think we all promoters are, you are right Anilji, nobody is, but we still have a feeling, and I get it, that I don't want to go beyond borders. Within borders can be 100 kilometers, can be 200 kilometers, not 1500 kilometers or 1000 kilometers. So I think India has a real future, and while no dots that we don't have to focus, but manufacturing excellence is the key for really making this sector very competitive. And definitely one of the biggest question is everybody's mind, how do you find people? And I think people need to be built. You will not get ready-made people. There are big companies like Reliance's where they talk, Prashant, can you get the people? I said, sir, पेड़ लगाए नहीं, फल कैसे तोड़ोगे? तो पहले तो पेड़ लगाने पड़ेंगे ना, तभी तो लोग मिलेंगे. और पेड़ लगाने के लिए पेशेंस है, उगते उगते देखना पड़ेगा उनको. So I think, or take the younger people and give the responsibility like what OfBusiness is doing. You don't understand textile, doesn't matter. Go and be the CEO there. I think very good takeaways from this panel, which I could take and we can build in whether policy and what direction. On the limitation of time, I won't be able to really thank panelists for this. Anil ji, you want to say something?
One sentence only. Yeah. You talked about buyer's perspective about India. One factor, which I think is very, very important. Among all the garment producing countries, especially I can talk about the European, everybody loves to visit India. Everybody loves to interact with Indians compared to all other countries. And I think this is a very, very important, one of the very important things, because we talk about the virus and she says, oh Anil, I have to go to Bangladesh after 2 weeks. I wish I could come to India. It makes a lot of difference.
100%. Yesterday I was with Brazil people they have families like Brazil Cotton. We have a seminar here in Lalit yesterday. Like these people want to come to India more and more. So I think we have a lot of advantage. We deserve much more than what we are getting, and we have to work towards that. With that, I'll thank all my panelists for a nice discussion and sharing the frank views. Thanks for all the audience for listening to it. Thank you.
For the dynamic and thought-provoking discussion, it is clear that branding beyond border is not just a goal but a necessity for the future of our industry. Your expertise has given us much to think about. It is my pleasure to now invite Mr. Vineet Sethi, Director, Orient Fashion Exports India Private Limited, and Mr. Mandeep Vasu from Goody Exports Private Limited to present the mementos. Requesting Mr. Vineet to kindly present memento to moderator of the session, Mr. Prashant Agarwal. And panel member, Mr. Arth Patel. Requesting Mr. Mandeep to kindly present memento to panel member, Mr. Pallab Banerjee. And panel member, Mr. Anil Peshawari. We thank our distinguished guests and request them to please move down. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.